This interview will be video audio recorded and will form part of the Yñiguez family and Veteranos Sacramento's Mexican American Servicemen Oral History Project that will be housed at the Center for Sacramento History. Do you agree to this recording?
I do.
This interview is taking place at the Center for Sacramento History. Please state your full name and spell it for me, including accents if you have any.
Carmen, Alice Yñiguez. Carmen, Carmen, Alice, Alice, Yñiguez, Ynigeuz.
Okay. Please provide your date of birth, month, date, and year.
May 12, 1955.
And where were you born?
I was born in Sacramento.
Okay. And please state your marital status.
I'm a widow.
Do you have any children?
I have one daughter.
And what is her name?
Jennifer Analicia Yñiguez.
Okay. And where were you raised?
I was raised in a small town out of Sacramento. It's called Ileton. It's out in the Delta.
And what did your parents do for a living?
My father worked for the Heinz Company in Ileton, where they made dill pickles. And my mother worked seasonally in the cannery.
Also in Ileton?
No, the cannery she worked in was by Stockton.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 3 brothers only.
Okay. And what was the primary language spoken at home when you were?
Spanish.
Please describe your childhood experiences and your neighborhood.
Well, we lived in Ileton. There's a part of Ileton called Chinatown, and I grew up in Chinatown. And it was pretty free then. You could run around and stuff and play, and we walked to school every day. And that's about it. It's just fun,
What was the makeup of the school? Mostly?
It was mostly Caucasian. There was very few black children and a few Hispanic children.
And you said you grew up in Chinatown. Were there Chinese there? Or?
Yes, it was Chinese and Filipinos mainly, and some Hispanic families.
Do you know why they called it Chinatown?
It's because I think during the railroad, the Chinese lived there, and the Filipinos also worked on the railroad, and then the canneries.
Is that something you learned growing up, or did you learn about it after?
Kind of growing up, and then after also.
Mm-hmm. And how would you explain your elementary school experience? How was that?
Oh, it was fine. I recently went to Ileton in June, and I saw the school and everything. And it's basically the same. And I think it was a pretty good experience.
Yeah. Did you experience any discrimination there?
I kind of think I did, thinking back. I kind of feel like I was discriminated a little bit.
How so?
Well, I had a really mean 3rd grade teacher that she wouldn't give me my report card until I turned in something. And so she made me go home and get the book, I think it was. And then I had to go find her. And I don't know, just felt kind of an uneasiness about that situation there. I've never forgotten it.
You graduated from high school, or?
Yes. Well, I went to elementary school in Ileton, and all the kids go to Rio Vista, which is 5 miles from Ileton. You take a bus or your parents drop you off in Rio Vista. And then in 1972, the town of Ileton had a flood. So we had to evacuate, and we moved to Lodi. And I finished my senior year in Lodi.
So was it in the middle of your senior year that the flood happened, or?
No, it was actually right in June. It was on June 20th, 1972.
Okay.
But then by the time the house was rebuilt and everything, I graduated from high school in Lodi.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to tell me a little bit about the flood, or what happened?
Well, about 1 o'clock in the morning, someone came knocking at our door saying we had to evacuate. So, they're told that there was a flood. There was a levee that broke in June, would you believe? And
Wow.
so what happened was the Corps of Engineers was working on a levee, and it broke. And so the water was coming towards our house. So we, grabbed whatever we could. And then we drove up to another levee, and we waited there a couple of hours until they said, no, it's time. You guys can go back. You can try to take whatever you want out of your house, but the water is coming. So luckily some friends had a truck, big truck, flatbed truck. So we were able to load our furniture and, whatever we could. And they drove it to another levee across the bridge. And so they would store our things there. And sure enough, the levee came, the water completely covered the house, and it was destroyed.
To the roof line almost?
Mm-hmm, to the roof line.
Did your parents own it?
No, they had just recently moved into that house because they kind of helped build it themselves through a program. It was like it was a program where you got money from the government, and then they provided you a contractor, but everybody helped build their own house.
So that must have been pretty devastating for your parents.
It was.
Do you remember them talking about it, or?
Not really. Luckily for my dad's job, they were able to move him to Stockton. And then we just rented a house. The government really helped us with paying for our rent in Lodi. And then we, after the house was done, we moved back. The same house, exactly the same.
Same
floor plan, everything was the same.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because that could be pretty devastating. So you graduated from Lodi High School? Is that what you said?
Yes, Lodi High School. Well, actually, it was called Tokay High School.
Oh, Tokay.
Yeah, because there was 2 high schools in Lodi. There was Lodi High School and Tokay High School.
And how was that experience? Because you're kind of like a senior and you have all your friends.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
Because all my, I went from kindergarten to 11th grade.
Very small town.
And so now I really didn't have any friends to speak of.
Yeah, so it wasn't a very good senior year.
Right. Yeah.
So then what happens after you graduate from high school?
Right after I graduated, we moved back. And then I don't remember if I started working right away. I might have worked in the fields or something like that. I think so, like on the tomato machines.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up going to Delta College in Stockton.
Oh, okay. And what did you study there?
I did general education.
Did you graduate with your degree there?
No, I didn't. No, because I started working.
Working where?
I had a job in Galt, which is at the top town, not too far from Mileton. I started working as an office secretary.
And what?
At an elementary school.
Oh, okay. What elementary school?
I guess it was Galt Unified School District. Galt Elementary School, I think.
They have a Valley Oaks.
Yeah, they have a Valley Oaks and a Fair Oaks. Fairside, yeah. Yeah.
I grew up there.
Oh, did you? Oh. Yeah, every day I would work in all 3 schools.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you were a secretary, and how long did you do that?
For about 2 years, I think. It was a special program, and I was able to work for 2 years there.
Was it like Mini Corps or Migrant Ed?
Maybe. I can't remember the program.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to, when I retired 6 years ago, I was able to contact them and get credit for my retirement.
Wow.
So.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're working in Galt, and then what happens next?
Then around that time I met Daniel, and we got married, and I moved to Sacramento.
Okay, let's slow down.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us your husband's name.
Daniel Allen Yñiguez. Daniel
Allen Yñiguez.
Mm-hmm.
And you met him where?
I was going to City College, and that's where I met him.
So you had transferred from Delta to City?
Yes, uh-huh.
And you met him how?
Oh, we're taking a photography class. And one of the assignment was to pick a partner from the class and take photographs of that person And so, he picked me or I picked him, and we took pictures of each other. And then, you develop the film and make the prints.
Okay. And how did that romance begin? Like, how did it, like, your classmates or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then I think he gave me a ride home because I lived in Sacramento at that time.
Uh-huh.
And so he might have given me a ride home. And then my roommate was home and she had just made some beans or something. And so we fed him. And then we just started seeing each other after that.
Mm-hmm. And how old were you?
I think I was 20. And he's 6 years older than I am. So he was probably 26.
So had he already served in the military?
Yes, he had already finished his service.
He had finished his service.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so tell us what he did, or what part of the service he was in.
He was in the Army.
In the Army?
And he did, when he turned 18, of course he had to go sign up for the Army because at that time they had a draft. And he went to Oakland and he joined the Army. He came back home. And then in March of that year, 2 months later, he had to be shipped out to Fort Ord to do 6 months of basic training.
Mm-hmm. And then what else? What else do you know about it? I know you're telling his story,
mm-hmm.
but what else do you know about his service?
After he completed his 6 months at Fort Ord, Washington, he was shipped to Vietnam.
And what was his role in Vietnam?
Originally, he was a truck driver, a light-duty truck driver. But then I guess he didn't like going out, because it's a lot of danger. So he changed to being a guard on the tower.
And how long was he in Vietnam?
13 months.
Straight?
Straight, yes. Well, think about, you could get out at 12 months, go home. But then you have to come back and serve 5 additional months in the U.S. But if you serve that 1 extra month, you leave Vietnam and you go straight home. So that's a lot of the military guys chose that route.
He wanted to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And so clearly you had some college education and there's a anti-war movement. And I mean, had you heard about the war? Had you been involved in, had you given much thought to it before Danny came into your life? Or?
Not really. I do remember it was in 73 when the war ended. I was in my PE class because I graduated in 73. And they said the war ended.
Wow.
That's my recollection.
Yeah. And you have 3 brothers.
Yeah.
So did any of them, are you younger, older?
I'm the 3rd child. Okay. I have 2 older brothers, 1 younger brother. No, the war was over by the time, they came up 18.
Really? Okay. So you meet Danny and he comes back from the war and after serving 13 months and did he talk to you about it in the beginning or?
Not that I recall. I don't remember him ever mentioning. I mean, he told me that he was a Vietnam veteran, but I don't remember him ever talking about it.
How long after, or when did you get married?
1980.
Okay, so how long after, or how long was the courtship?
3 years.
Okay. And you got married where?
In Ileton.
Oh.
Yeah. Catholic church there.
Yeah. So you're married and you had a daughter. How long after you got married?
3 years.
Okay. And you're living where?
In Sacramento.
Okay. And where in Sacramento?
I think it was off of Folsom Boulevard around 53rd Street.
And what is Danny doing for a living?
Oh, he's working as a custodian at a high school.
Okay. And what are you doing now?
Well, I worked up until the day I had my daughter. I was working at a dental office. I was doing accounting or doing the billing for the account for the dentist.
In Sacramento.
Mm-hmm. Sacramento.
And you had your daughter, and then you didn't work.
Right. I stayed home for about 2.5 years. I stayed home, and I actually after that I went to go work for the school district.
And you stayed home. Was that your choice, or?
Yeah, that was my choice to stay home.
So, you go back to working for a school.
Yes.
And you did that up until
6 years ago when I retired. I mean, I worked at different schools in the Sacramento City Unified School District, but it was all the time I was there.
Yeah. So being married to someone who's been at war, was that ever an issue in your marriage, or?
No, I don't think so, because he had a very positive experience in Vietnam.
Okay.
So. So
he didn't suffer from PTSD?
No, he didn't.
Did he talk to you about his thoughts about war, or?
Not really. I don't remember him ever mentioning it. I mean, he talked about his friendships there, and they lived. The base that he was on was a huge base. It's an Air Force base, and he could go to the beach, which is surprising to me that he would go to the beach. And then on the base itself, there was a swimming pool, and then the guys would get together and they cook steaks. So I mean, I don't know. It sounds really like a good experience.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you married before his passing?
30 years.
It's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And how did he pass?
He had cancer, and he passed away 13 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry for your loss. You remained in Sacramento after that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And your daughter, she's near too, or?
Yes, she lives about 15 miles from me.
Yeah. And how would you describe your marriage overall?
I think it was pretty good. Ups and downs, but mainly good.
Yeah. And your parents liked him, and?
Oh yeah, my parents liked him.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember any stories he had about the war?
Not really. I mean, he kept in touch with one of his friends that lives in Oxnard. In fact, I met them and we visited them a few times. And, real nice guy, and his wife is very nice. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, they would talk, I guess, about the old times in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you ever get involved with anything to do with the military afterwards, or did you guys belong to a VFW? Or?
No, we never joined any organization.
Mm-hmm. In terms of the Yñiguez family, sort of family of service, does the family ever talk about what it means to contribute in that way to the U.S. or?
Not that I remember. I don't remember talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Even with his cousins or who served also in Vietnam?
No, I didn't even know that any of his cousins had served in Vietnam. I know his brother did, but his brother, it was towards the end of the war. He was only there 8 months.
Yeah.
So, but his brother did stay in the reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And during Desert Storm, he got shipped to Texas.
Mm-hmm. So. Did your husband ever discuss anything about his feelings about war? Or?
No, I don't think he ever did, not that I recall.
Yeah. Do you wonder why that may be, or maybe he's trying to protect you, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I know he would, if you met someone and they asked him questions about it, he'd talk about it. But, he always had a good experience in Vietnam, so.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add, or?
I'm trying to think. I know that he mentioned that they had girls that lived on the base. They would come and clean their rooms and stuff like that, and they caught one of the girls stealing a can of food or something like that, and they got mad at her and didn't allow her to come back and clean for them. Something I remember. I don't know. It was just a big base, and they had a lot of food there, and so they weren't, eating like rations or anything like that. They ate good.
I was going to ask you. You had donated some uniforms. Did you want to talk about what you donated to the center?
Yes, it's my husband's uniform, the pants and the jacket, and my father-in-law's jacket from World War II, and then some other miscellaneous items like the hats. So I just think that they would be better off if I donate them than just sitting in the garage in a box or something.
Yeah. Do you have wedding pictures?
I didn't bring any with me.
Maybe you could bring them back.
Oh, sure.
Or give them to Juan, and that way we have something, and maybe pictures of him with his daughter.
Oh, yes.
Any way we can preserve his story without him, not being able to tell it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give the Juan, and no, make sure if you get them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time and consenting to this interview.
Oh, you're welcome.
And if there's anything else that we can do, you just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
Do you mind if I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious too, because it always brings up other things, but when I got choked up when we were talking, because I was thinking about Jenny, and she was a teenager when he passed, right?
Well, she was in her 20s, I think.
Already?
Yeah, she was a little bit older.
So, but I guess the question is, when her dad passed, did she handle it okay, or was it extremely traumatic, or did she?
I think she handled it okay. She was actually living in San Diego at the time, and so, but the time he got really sick, she was living in San Diego, so she never really saw him when he was at his, deathbed. So.
And then the other thing that comes to mind, I never thought about this before, but do you recall him and David talking about their experiences in Vietnam?
Yeah, not that I recall. I don't recall them. They probably did in their own private.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't recall.
Yeah. And then Richard and I have a theory that his early passing might have been due to Agent Orange or something, some chemical. Did you have any suspicions, or did he?
No. I know he had a lot of kidneys, so I had a problem with his kidneys.
Okay.
Which it turned out I have problems with my kidneys too, from my mother.
And then the other, I guess the last thing on my mind, I thought he drove a Jeep, but I knew he drove something. But you had said that he wanted to get out of that because it was so...
yeah, because they have to leave the base, and then, you never know there's any...
But did he ever talk about, because he never would talk about it with us, but did he ever talk about, scary moments or,
The only thing I remember him telling me, so normally when a captain or someone higher rank comes into the base, you salute them. But in this instance, he didn't salute them because he was suspicious that there would be a Kong around where they were. And so he didn't salute him, and he told him, "I'm not saluting you, sir, because if I salute you, you could be killed." So that's the only story I remember telling you.
And then that raises the question: did he ever talk about the base being attacked or bombed, or?
No,
pretty
not
safe.
no. It was just pretty safe.
Yeah.
It's a huge base, huge.
Yeah. Sorry, it just those questions came up.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess did he ever talk about Uncle Dan's service in World War II?
No, other than he was, you know how they used to always, that method of communicating, the
Morse code.
Morse code, that he was a Morse code
Huh.
person. That was it. He was trained in that. So.
And you don't recall my uncle ever talking about World War II?
No.
Yeah.
Not that I recall.
That's about right. They kept it close to the vest.
They kept it inside. Yeah, because.
Yeah. My husband served in the military, and he just doesn't talk about it. So I think sometimes they just want to protect you, or I don't know if they want us to know. So it's difficult, right? Because you don't want to probe too hard or anything, but
I know he spent, because they're allowed to have 1 week vacation during the time that they're in service. So a lot of, some people go home or they go to another Asian country, but he went to Australia. So he had the best time, because that's where he always wanted to go.
Carmen, I mentioned in the interview that I did, that one thing Danny did tell me when he came back, he'd just gotten back. And I said something stupid, like, "You must be happy to be home," or, some, I don't know. You can never say the right thing to a veteran, right? But he goes, "No," he goes, "I want to go back and be with my buddies," which surprised the heck out of me. Who would want to go back to Vietnam? But felt strongly about that.
Yeah, because he had one friend, John Perez, he lives in Oxnard. He was there, he was already there, and then Danny came in, and then Danny left, and he was still there. He had some kind of mess up with his paperwork, I don't know. But he finally got home.
Mm-hmm. I guess I'm wondering too, like, what are your views about America and like people who serve and
Well, I think that, it takes a lot of courage to serve. And, we lose a lot of guys and women.
yeah.
But it's proud of them for the courage.
You're proud of them. All right, let's conclude the interview at 2:37 p.m.